Everyone. This is our second Courtney's Place virtual in-home class. I'm Michelle Shipatovsky, CEO, and on behalf of everyone at Courtney's Place, it's my pleasure to thank you for participating tonight. Courtney's Place, if you aren't already familiar, is a family-founded nonprofit in Arizona that provides inclusive, stimulating, and meaningful community-based day program for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Before we start the class, I'd like to share a short video that highlights the magic that is Courtney's Place.
Just your beautiful face so far, Michelle.
So far, Blake,
Yes.
where's that video?
Blake.
It's loading. Okay, sorry guys. Well, welcome to the world of buffering.
All right, here we go. Let me get there. Almost there.
Courtney's Place. Courtney's Place. Take it in, all the wonder inside every pair of eyes. Perspective, we discover smiles have the brightest light. When they lift up each other, spirits born again alive. From within one another brings the happiness in life. We got a lot that we can do, so come on, raise your hands. Understand we got a lot that we can do, so come on, scream it loud and proud. I'm special, I got potential. I'm special in every way. I'm special, I got potential. I'm special in every way.
By participating in events like these and making donations to our agency, you're helping to make what you just watched happen for others who need it. So again, thank you. I'd like to recognize a couple of people that are on our virtual class today. First of all is our visionary and founder of Courtney's Place, Cindy Carpenter. And I'd also like to recognize our board chair, the powerhouse Bené Hilton Spiegel. And I know that Michelle Chop is on the call. Michelle, I'd like to thank your daughter again for writing, singing, and producing that wonderful song that went in our video. So anytime she wants to come up with something else, we would gladly welcome her creativity. Now to the good stuff. So I'd like to introduce you to our guest this evening. A native to Arizona, Maxwell Berlin has been pushing the dining scene in Phoenix for many years, most recently at local Thai hotspot Glai Baan. He's a food nerd through and through by his own admission, and he's been crafting drinks with a uniquely travel-inspired twist, working with ingredients from all around the world. Currently working on a new visual knowledge sharing project called Rice.Table. After this is over, we'll be sharing all of his handles on social media so you can follow him and see what other fun things he's up to. So at this time, I'd like to ask you to get your glasses and your taste buds ready. And Max, I'm pitching it to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, everybody. I can't see you guys. It's so weird on Zoom, but I know you're out there, and I wanted to thank you guys for being here today in my home here in Phoenix, Arizona, and thank you to Courtney's Place for allowing me to do this with you guys. So my name's Maxwell, and I'm a bartender here in town, and I work at a restaurant called Glai Baan. And if you like Thai food, you should most definitely come by. And we have really delicious food and really great cocktails. and I've been doing this now for long enough. So I'm really excited to get to show you some really fun, very simple cocktail ideas that, you know, maybe you take the idea of and put your own little twist on it, and then you'll look like a professional bartender, just like me. So does that sound good, Michelle? Blake, everybody all good? Thumbs up. So I have 3 drinks for you to make today. I have a really fun tropical rummy beverage. It's the official drink of the country of Brazil, and that's a caipirinha, and I'll show you that one. I have kind of Thai, kind of Glai Baan-esque style mule, which is a really fun base recipe that you can kind of take in your own direction and use whatever flavors you like. And then as we're getting into fall season, I have a warm cocktail so that we're gonna build it out, and then all you have to do is put it on the stove, and then you have a really excellent kind of tropically fall-inspired cider. So I think let's get going. If you guys have questions, write it in the chat, send up your little hands, and then I'm sure Michelle and Blake then will ask me, and please feel free to add whatever you want to make this a great conversation. I think that's the best part about being behind a bar, is that it's less about me making drinks and more about the interaction that you get to share with your community. So I guess I need a drink. I've been working all day, and so let's get going on a drink, a beverage. I think we're gonna do the caipirinha. Does that sound good? I sent everybody, I believe, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they should have a little recipe and ingredients list. But these are really simple drinks, and if you follow along, and then we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. All right, so caipirinha. It's a fun one. It's a long name, and it's hard for everybody to pronounce, but I think it's probably my #1 favorite cocktail. It's everything that I like to drink. It's tart, it's strong, it's boozy, has fun tropical fruit flavors. And the lady that taught me, she was a very old Brazilian lady, such a sweetheart, such a pain in the ass as well, I'll be honest. But she taught me the way that her parents have taught her, and so I'll show that to you guys now. So this is a really simple drink. If everybody wants to grab some kind of glass, this is one of my mixing tins. It's made out of metal. But if you have like a pint glass or some kind of glass, you'll need one of these and something to ideally shake it up. This kind of glass has a little top that goes on top so we can shake it. Also, you'll need a muddler. So this is a muddler. It's essentially just a stick, right? And you know, they come in a million different varieties, different materials, but as you're kind of figuring out how to set up your home bar, you know, it's definitely worth getting an investment. Get a shaker, get a muddler. Sound good? Make sure I didn't destroy anything. All right, so this is really simple. It's 3 ingredients usually. It's sugar, it's limes, and it's rum. Rum-wise, the Brazilian rum is obviously the choice, the primary choice. There's a rum style called cachaça, and I put that on the ingredients list. I have cachaça here. This is actually from Brazil, and this is kind of like, this made it home with me in a bag from a different trip around the country, and a friend traded me this for some of my booze. So this is it. If you go to the liquor store, any kind of clear, unaged rum, Brazilian, great. If not, Puerto Rican rums, Central American, Nicaraguan rums, it doesn't matter. Ideally, you want something that has a good flavor. It's not good liquor, period. But there's lots of great brands out there, and if you guys have any questions about sourcing and everything, feel free to just type it up, and then we'll do that. Dark rum is okay. A caipirinha, normally the cachaça doesn't get too dark, like they don't age it. Usually it's clear, but I think with the flavors, no problem. If you have dark rum, sounds good to me. The one thing that I do like that makes cachaça really excellent is that it has a really high alcohol content. And that makes it stand up really well in the cocktail. So most rums are at the minimum 40% alcohol or 80 proof, but cachaças usually can be upwards of like 50% alcohol, and I think it makes a really good caipirinha. So to start, before we get to this, we're gonna make the base of it. So in my shaker tin, I have a couple of limes. I've sliced these limes in rounds, and I've got them so they're thin, but they're not too thin. We're gonna muddle this with the sugar. So if you cut it too thin, you won't really get much in the way of Ella's in Brazil. A lady will usually, I've seen videos of it, a lady will sit on the curb and she'll just kind of whip one up. It's not like make a ton of syrups and a ton of prep, like all the really fancy cocktails you can get at bars these days. So it's just so easy to do. And then you mix it up and it's really impressive, I think. So rum in there, I'm sorry, limes in there. I have sugar, and this is my house sugar. This is a larger grain sugar, but granulated sugar is fine. I think raw sugar works the best for this because you're gonna muddle the sugar and the limes together, and the rougher sugar acts as kind of an abrasive. You know what I mean? Like it kind of grinds everything up a little bit better. But whatever sugar works for me. This is a recipe. A lot of bartenders make cocktails with things called simple syrups. And as you get into making cocktails, simple syrups are really helpful. This cocktail, I don't think needs it. I think just regular raw sugar is your best bet. So fancy is not the way to go for this. Is that it's kind of manipulable. If you like sweeter drinks, add more sugar. Well, I'll show you. Yeah, if you like sweeter drinks, I'm usually, I think a good measurement to start is about 2 tablespoons to go. And it's all kind of by eye. If you like sweeter drinks, maybe go for 3 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons. If you like really strong rummy drinks, maybe a little less, but at least start with 2, and I think go from there. So little spoonfuls in there. Make a little pile. Okay. So now I have sugar and limes there. Now the caipirinha, you can get this all over Brazil. The rum lime sugar combination is probably, well, it's the classic, but you can get all sorts of really fun tropical fruit flavors, passion fruit, kiwi, banana, citrus fruits, all sorts of stuff. So I actually happen to have some kiwis in the house, but if you have pineapple or mango or whatever it be, feel free to throw it in at this point. So I'm going to take this kiwi that I've peeled, because you're not going to strain this, right? So you want all the pieces to be like eatable. So I took the peel off. If you're using like mango or pineapple, peel it. I'm going to go for kind of like 2 or so, medium-sized chunks. Nothing too much. Now you got all that in there. Now it's the muddle part. Easy enough. This is the muddle. The idea of muddling this together is kind of creating like this almost, this is going to sound great, but kind of like a sludge, right? You want to get the sugar getting to dissolve in the lime juice. You want the lime peels that have a lot of flavor in them. It has a lot of essential oils in the peel itself. So you kind of want to push that into the mix too. And you just give it a good 1-2, So I'm going to muddle this up. Michelle, are you making drinks along with? Or are you just enjoying from afar? Oh, you must be muted too. Blake, are you muted?
I'm not now.
Hey, it feels so lonely with everybody so quiet. Everybody doing okay? Blake, are you making a drink?
No, not right now.
Well, this one's for you then.
Well, thank you.
So this is kind of what I'm looking at. And so I've kind of pushed everything together, and you can kind of see that the kiwi's broken down and the limes are getting squished. I'll be the first one to admit though, this lime is not very juicy, so I'm gonna go for a little bit more. I like this. I want this drink to be strong, sweet, sour, all intense flavors. So when you get to the part where you kind of have mixed everything together, you can taste it, you know, and see what you're thinking. If it's not sweet enough, add more sugar. If it's not tart enough, add more lime. Will Rose's lime juice ruin it? You know what? No, it won't. And it'd make it really easy. Rose's lime juice for everybody is like a pre-made bottled product. You know, if you have it in the house, go for it. You know, I think it works fine. There's nothing comparable to my, you know, to my taste than fresh lime juice. I think the difference between Rose's lime and fresh lime juice, fresh is better. Yeah, for sure, fresh is better. Okay. Everybody got that one so far? Kind of got a little sludge. The limes, I got some juice in there. Okay. Now the rum. So I have tool number 3. This is what they call a jigger. And a jigger is a measuring tool. And this helps measure out alcohol in fluid ounces. It comes usually in sets. Well, it's like kind of, it's combined. And this top one usually is 1 ounce. And then in the actual jigger itself, there are little, there you go, little lines. And that you can then measure out a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce. And then the flip side is almost standardly 2 ounces. And then on the inside, there are more lines so you can measure out 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces, and so on. So a caipirinha, normally the lady will free pour it, right? And if you know what you're doing and you made it long enough, you usually go for about 2 ounces. That's about 1 standard portion of alcohol, at least in a Maxwell cocktail. So I'm going to use the top half. I'm going to measure it out. And just as I'm training bartenders in my field, this is the time that you want to taste it. So I'm going to use a clean spoon. And I'm just going to give it a little taste to make sure that it tastes good then. Because if it doesn't taste good now, then it's not going to taste good later. I actually think I'm pretty much right on the money. It's strong, it's sweet, it's sour. And the kiwi is really nice, kind of refreshing, cool tone to it. Okay. Pretty much you're, at this point, ready to go. I'm going to throw some ice in here. I'm going to give it a good old shake, and then we're going to dump it out, and then we got a caipirinha. I learned about this drink as a kid. I watched Anthony Bourdain go to Brazil, and then ever since I was like, I have to go to Brazil, and it's still on my bucket list, but I can't wait to go there soon. This is ice from my freezer. I use a nice little silicone mold, and you get these nice big squares. I also have these kind of little tubey-looking ones, and we'll be using both of these today. But whatever kind of ice, pebble ice, you know what you get at Sonic. Excuse me, a lot of bartenders really love that. Big cubes, small cubes, whatever really works for you. Alrighty, so that's the cocktail. This is the lid. Give it a little tap, and then once you get your ice in there, you it's like a ticking time bomb, right? The ice is now diluting the cocktail. It's starting to lose all that excess water, bringing the cocktail to cold level, right? And so you want to get it off the ice as fast as possible because you don't want your drink to get too watery. And I'm sure everybody's had that moment. So big shake, hard, loud, and hopefully it doesn't explode all over yourself. That's gold. And you can kind of feel the shaker get cold. You can kind of feel the ice moving around and kind of mixing up the lime and the sugar. And you want that sugar to dissolve. And you kind of look into it, and you can't really see it yet. I'll show you. But it has a nice little frothy layer on top. And that comes from me shaking a lot of air into it, just like you're making a meringue. And so it kind of makes the cocktail like lift it. And then caipirinha, I love it because it's so simple and straightforward. It's just what we call dirty dumped. So it's not even strained. And you want all the little lime pieces and fruit pieces to be in there and floating around. And then I'm gonna take one of these out. And I'm gonna use this kiwi to garnish. Cut a little piece of it. Like that. Ta-da! This is a kiwi caipirinha. All right, give it a taste. When you smell it, so not to get too technical, but the cachaça is a really special kind of rum, and it's very aromatic. Compared to most what we call industrial rums, you know, like your Puerto Rican rums and your Central American rums that are made using a kind of a distillation style that makes it very clean, like a vodka. This kind of rum is not that. This is distilled once or twice, and it makes a very strong kind of funky rum. So when you smell the cocktail, you kind of get the lime, you get the kiwi, and then you get that kind of funk, and I love it. So cheers, everybody. Great. It's so simple of a drink, but when people look at it and they see it and then they taste it, they're like, damn, this is great. Sound good? Okay. I worked really hard today. I was like, I needed that. Will somebody read that question again, please?
It says, is this like the Emmys? Is someone going to knock at the door with each drink?
What? I don't get it. I'm sorry.
The Emmys, I believe they had someone knock on the door when they were presenting. So it's like each drink has a presentation of, ooh.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, being a bartender, when you're making these cocktails, right? Like at any level, whether you go into like your neighborhood bar or the really fancy, really expensive cocktail bars, you know, the idea is to create an experience, and not to get all about it, but you know, people eat with their eyes first, and so you want your cocktail to look good and taste good, and then people want to, more importantly, they want to remember the experience of the exchange of you making a drink. And everyone, how is it, Eva? Oh, Eva made a drink too? Is it, Blake, can you see everybody? Are they on their cameras too?
Yes. Yeah. Everyone is I see different people shaking their shakers and drinking it, and it looks like everyone's having a good time.
Okay, and Eva just gave it a huge thumbs up. Jay, what did you think? Also a thumbs up. It looks really good.
Good, thank you. I wish, oh, there we go. Hey, hi everybody. I know this sounds crazy, but like on my screen, I couldn't see any of you, so I felt like I was just talking to an empty room.
There you
All
go.
right, everybody.
Review.
Thumbs up.
Michelle's drink. Which
Look at that. Bene, that looks good. You guys are great. Allison, how's it taste? Thumbs up?
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, good. What kind of rum did you have, Allison? Will you show everybody?
Oh, I just had regular Bacardi. I've got better rum for the other one.
That's great. Bacardi is great.
Yeah.
And so there's
the next
a
one,
lot of people.
the darker one, I've got a better.
You got Bacardi.
Ooh, fancy. Hey, Benny got Bacardi, great rum. What the Bacardi is, it's great rum, but it's a very clean rum. It doesn't have a ton of flavor. So I bet whatever fruit or whatever you put in it, it's probably pretty straightforward, that one. But if you get a bottle of cachaça, they're usually dirt cheap at Total Wine and everything. Way cheaper than Bacardi, usually. Let's see. Looks like Michelle, they're kind of making some drinks over there. Everybody doing okay? Great, guys. Alrighty, let's move on to the next drink. We're gonna make a mule, which is nice. A mule classic, oh, I'm sorry. What I was gonna say about the caipirinha, if you're not a rum drinker, a really fun cocktail that's pretty widely known to, it's called the caipirosca. You know, caipirinha, caipirosca. And it's a vodka-based one. And it's really popular in Brazil. Just like vodka is really popular here, it's really popular in Brazil as well. And so they'll do this caipirinha with vodka too. And so it's a really good way to try it if you don't like rum. Okay, so speaking of vodka, we're gonna go on to a mule-like cocktail. And working in a Thai restaurant, I work with Thai ingredients all day, and I've been to Thailand and I love it. In Asia, something about it has really captured me. And I could go on all day about it, but the flavors and the ingredients that you use, which you can now get at Fry's, you know, you can go to Whole Foods or Sprouts or wherever and get most of these ingredients. You can get ginger and kaffir lime and lemongrass and pandan. If you guys are mostly here in Phoenix, Phoenix especially has a fantastic selection of different Asian grocers around town, Middle Eastern grocers. And so we're very lucky here in this city to have access to such cool ingredients. So we're gonna do a little Thai mule. So mule, normally basic ingredient, you got your vodka, you got a little lime juice, a little sugar, and ginger beer. And so we're gonna take that up take it up a couple of notches. So this one's nice. This one I'm gonna build in the glass. So that kind of helps. So you don't even need to really shake it up and you just kind of mix it all together. Glass-wise, I'm using a tall glass. It's kind of like this. We call this technically a Collins glass. But if you want, you know, or here, let me grab something real quick. So everybody, I'm sure, has seen this mug before, right? And so either way, if you want to use one of these, doesn't really matter what kind of cup. So, you know what? Let's go in the mule. I think we're doing a mule. Let's do it in a mule cup. Alrighty, so this one's straightforward. I'm gonna get my jigger out. I got a cup here and vodka. And today we're using Tito's. Thank you, Tito's. La la la. This is a really fantastic corn vodka from Texas. I know a lot of people love Tito's because it's great, great vodka. And it's really clean, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever you got, I would just avoid the vodka that comes in a large plastic jug and doesn't smell good. If it's really, really cheap vodka, it's probably not going to make a good meal. So Tito's, this was $10. So the reason why I'm putting in the vodka first in this drink is because vodka, being a high alcohol spirit, will mix with all the other flavors as I kind of add them, and it'll start to pull out all the flavors, if that makes sense. You're kind of infusing this vodka with all the other ingredients and aromatics that I'm going to add to this cocktail. And so it's nice to start with the base of spirit. So get this open. 2 ounces. At a bar, I'll measure it, kind of. Here at home, I don't. I usually just kind of, oh yeah, that looks about right. Okay, a little more, okie dokie. Oh, let me grab one more thing too. There you go. Sorry, guys. I got a little lime juicer here. This is helping me get the lime juice, but if you just squeeze your hand, that'll work too. Okay. So we're gonna take a lime. Careful, sharp knife. We're gonna use, I like drinks just like that caipirinha. I like them more on the tart side, and I usually don't like things too sweet. So I'm gonna go for a full lime on this. If you're making this in a batch, a full lime is usually about a little over an ounce of lime juice. So if you're making a big batch of this, no problem. Just juice a bunch of limes, and then you can just kind of add it until you get the flavor that you want. Again, you kind of want not too sweet, more sour, and then that kind of spice of the ginger. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. Everybody following along? Got some thumbs up. Benny, how you doing? Are you drinking all that vodka, or are you making cocktails? Yeah.
We're gonna drink the vodka and the lime juice and then the mule.
Look at, see, so
Really?
it looks like you have a big old thing of lime juice in it.
Lime juice.
So if you're doing it that way, you want about an ounce.
Okay, cool.
Well, you want an ounce per portion. So if you're making 3 portions there, then 3 ounces.
There's ounces. I got it, Mom.
Alrighty, so I picked this out of my garden. Next ingredient. Let's go back to me. I love you guys. If you guys want to unmute, I don't know if that'll cause havoc or not, but I don't know if you guys want to talk. I'm okay with it. Everybody's so quiet.
We said if anyone wants to say anything, you can unmute yourself to say, and then we're just to keep things kind of manageable. After you ask your question, if you don't mind muting yourself, that'd be awesome.
Thanks, Blake. So,
Wait, you don't like it when I fight with my mom on here? It's really fun, though.
So a little story. So Blake and I actually met back in high school, which feels like so long ago. And Blake and I were both in band together, and Blake played bassoon and French horn and flugelhorn and drum major and all the things. Yeah, she's a talented lady. And she kept me in line back then, just as she is right now. So I headed back to home. All right, back to the drink. Thai ingredient, this thing. Anybody know what it is? Anybody?
Kaffir
Maybe?
lime?
You're on it, Michelle. You're right. Kaffir lime. Sometimes you'll see it as lime leaf, makrut in Thai. The kaffir lime word is, not to get into the politics of it, but the kaffir lime word is changing in the bartending community. And so that word is kind of going away, oddly enough. But yeah, this is kaffir lime. And when you smell it, and this is from my bush outside, if you kind of push it a little bit, you smell it, it's very aromatic. It kind of smells like lime, like almost a dried lime smell. And then you kind of get this kind of citrusy aroma. Then you get a little of that kind of bright herbalness to it, like you would like parsley or something, you know. Very unique and very Thai. So this I'm just gonna put in the bottom there. And then the ginger.
Hey, Maxwell, where can you find kaffir lime if you don't grow it yourself?
So, well, here in Arizona, oddly enough, there's lime trees all over. It's not the exact same as this kind of Thai lime, but I know like 10 people in this neighborhood that have lime trees, so that works. The best bet is if you go to your Asian grocer, guaranteed they'll have it. Especially if you're in Phoenix, there's all sorts of Asian grocers in Mesa, Northwest Phoenix, Central Phoenix. And if you can't get it, to be honest, don't worry about it. You know, like this is the fun of this recipe is that you can, I don't know, switch it up. If you don't want to do Thai, you know, maybe do Italian, right? And put some basil in it. Maybe, you know, spring tomatoes I've done mules with really well, like little cherry guys. It sounds super weird, but if you crush like 2 of those in there with a little basil and then you do a mule on top of it, it's really excellent. You know, or whatever kind of produce, if you want to mix it up, if you have berries in season or tropical fruits or what do you got, mix it up, no problem. So I have ginger here. This is just a little fresh raw ginger. I think this mixed with the ginger beer gives me that kind of spicy flavor. I love mules for that real ginger kick. So I'm gonna kind of up it up a little bit. So I'm gonna cut, these are thin slices like that. I don't want to cut it too small. Like I'm not looking for a mince or a dice on the ginger because I don't want to suck up like chunky ginger pieces, right? But I want it to kind of flavor everything. So I'm going to put that in there. And lemongrass. So I went to the store today and I could not get lemongrass. I don't know why, but lemongrass is like a big long stalk. I know I saw it 2 days ago, and I felt like I should have gotten it. And not a thing for me today, unfortunately. But I'll show you a different ingredient. So we'll rain check on the lemongrass. So in my freezer, one of my favorite Thai ingredients is this. And you can get this at your Asian market. You can even order it online these days, but it's called pandan leaf. And pandan leaf, it sounds really uncommon. It's not. Almost every Asian country uses it as like a vanilla. And this is like a long shrub that they cut the leaves off of. Here you can kind of see long. And when you smell it, how should we use the lemongrass? Found it at Fry's. Hey, okay. So the pandan leaf has that kind of vanilla scent. So I'm gonna throw that in there. If you have the lemongrass, so there's a couple of ways to do it. But kind of like I was saying with the ginger, you don't wanna cut it in tiny rounds. So aim for long diagonal slices. And I really wish I had one to show you. But say like this is your lemongrass, right? This is a piece of cinnamon. So you want to cut it not this way, right? Because that'll give you small little pieces. You want to take your knife and you want to angle it and cut that way. And that'll give you nice kind of oval shaped pieces. And those won't break down too much when you're going to muddle all this together with the ginger beer. Does that make sense? Whoever asked that question? Okay, so in here I have vodka, lime juice, kaffir lime, and a little pandan leaf in mine. It already smells really good. Okay, so ginger beer. This is the next ingredient, kind of. The ginger beer that I have right now, this is a Mexican ginger beer that I got at the market earlier. It's what I was looking at. There are lots of great brands of ginger beer out there. There's Fever Tree, that's a high quality English brand of ginger beer. There's Gosling's, which is a classic from the Caribbean. And what I like in a ginger beer, whatever it is I don't want it to be too sweet, and I like the ginger taste to be fresh. So there's a brand called Cock and Bull that's really popular. Any of those would be great. Whatever it is, it's not too matter. The reason I kind of mentioned the sweetness level is because if you like a sweeter drink, at this point, you might want to add a little bit of sugar. And if you don't like a sweet drink, then I would leave it as is, right? I don't really like sweet drink. Well, that's not true. I like sweet drinks too. I have a sweet tooth and it's unsatiable. But the sugar, if you want to add some little simple syrup or some regular sugar, I'm going to stick without because I don't need it. That's for sure. COVID for everybody. Alrighty, so I'm gonna give it a taste real quick. Make sure that we like. Oh, I'm sorry. So I've gotten this far, right? So now I have all these pieces, and now I want to muddle it. Just like before, you kind of want to express that flavor of all the different ingredients, but you don't want to make a mush out of it like the last drink. This one you kind of want to like press down into the ginger without crushing it and ripping it apart. Does that make sense, everybody? Like, it's not gonna hurt anything if you rip it apart, but then you might get a little chunkies in your drink. But right on the bottom, there's 2 pieces of whole ginger still that are just kind of crushed. Okay, now let's taste that, make sure it tastes good. If it doesn't taste good now, it won't taste good later. Yum. It has spiced ginger, it's limey, it doesn't really have any sugar in it right now, so it's definitely not too sweet, but once we add the ginger beer, I think it'll be great. I'm also gonna add some ice. Are we good on time, Blake? I don't have a clock, I'm sorry.
We're doing okay.
What time is it?
It is 5:45.
Oh, shit, okay, sorry.
And then would you mind repeating as you complete the drink, would you mind repeating the ingredients?
Yes, so the base ones are vodka, lime, and ginger beer. Sugar is nice, and then whatever flavoring. So I have in here ginger, I have the kaffir lime, and the pandan leaf. So I got a cocktail there. And this kind of reminds me, there are a lot of Thai soups that have all these like kaffir lime and ginger pieces floating around with it. So I think it's pretty good just like that. But I'm gonna take some fresh kaffir lime, another piece, give it a little push on top there. Here's a lime piece, tuck it like that, and then bam, mule, Thai mule. Smells good. It smells spicy. Works for me, and that's delicious. Everybody else looking okay? Good. I got some thumbs up. Michelle, how you doing? Thumbs up? You guys look great. All right, I got 15 more minutes. All right, so this one's gonna be a 2-step process, but we're gonna make a warm cocktail. So I'm gonna build this in a pan. The idea here, I'm gonna show you how to make the base of this fall cider, and then more importantly, like kind of like formula for it. And then all you have to do is warm it up and then put it in a mug, and then you got a really delicious cider. I actually kind of came up with this recipe doing a Tito's competition a couple of years ago at the farmer's market. And I won, which is woo! And it was really fun, and everybody loves a really good cider, and I think this kind of takes it up a notch. So to get going, I'm gonna make the non-alcoholic part first. That's apple juice. Then I'm gonna add the booze after we get there. So the cider part. So I guess if you have kids or somebody that's not drinking, this is perfect to go as is, and then add the booze later. Okay. Again, not too hard of a recipe. I really wanted to choose recipes that you didn't really need to like measure out a bunch of things and make weird ingredients. So just kind of build it to your taste. I'm gonna start with apple juice. This is, I picked this up at Fry's, just regular unfiltered apple juice. I usually go for the unfiltered stuff because I like a little bit of that texture, and I think the flavor of the apple juice is better, but whatever it is, I'm gonna make a portion for about 4 people, so I'm gonna use like half this jug. This stuff is really nice if you make it in a big batch. The longer it sits with all the things in it, the more flavor it'll have as well. So that's a pretty good way to go. But I have a mug portion, a little guy right here, and that's probably about like 8 ounces or so. So I guess if you're making 3 of them, then you want to aim for about 24 ounces of liquid total. Okay, so this is the base of the apple juice. Now sweetener, I have honey, I have sugar if you need it. Maple syrup is really good, but I love the flavor of honey. Compared to regular sugar, honey has like a richer flavor to it. Obviously has the flavor of whatever the honey is. So if you're using like an orange blossom honey or a clover honey, it'll pick up the flavor of the plants that the bees were moving to pollinate. And so where'd my spoon go? So this is to taste. I think maybe a tablespoon and a half we'll start with, and if I think it needs a little bit more, we'll go from there. Okay. And the beauty of this is it's a kind of a cocktail that you can make in large batches. You know, so if you have a holiday party, this is a great option to keep on the stove, or if you have like a warm drink, dispenser, that'd be really great. It's also a nice cocktail because it's kind of like a kitchen sink cocktail. Whatever spices you have laying around the house is a great way to go. Whatever fruits, if you have tropical fruit, citrus, whatever. I'm gonna put in some citrus. Basic cocktail recipes, almost in any form, no matter what, usually has some kind of strong component, booze, some kind of spice component, some kind of sour component, and some kind of sweet component. So it's kind of nice to get a balance of all of those together. Okay, so I'm gonna cut a couple of slices, and I'm just gonna lay it in there, and those are gonna float around in the cider. And then I'm gonna take the ends of the lemon. After I take the slices, I'm gonna take the lemon and just juice the last little bits in there. And so that'll add some sour quality. I'm gonna dig this out. I didn't see that. There we go. Okay. Okay, spices. So I have a mortar here. If you guys don't have a mortar and pestle in your kitchen, go get one. The things I tell everybody to get, you should always have a rice cooker and a mortar and pestle. It's like every kitchen should have it. And then spices, all sorts of really cool things. And in my house, I have too many spices of every kind. But today's cider, I kind of chose a really fun fall selection of spices. I have, here we go. I have star anise. Looks like this, has kind of a licoricey tone, looks like a little star. I have peppercorns. These are actually Indian long pepper, which I got at the Asian market, but any kind of peppercorn would be good. There's actually some Chinese peppercorns here. These are green little peppercorns, and these have a quite spicy bite. If you have dried spices that are ground, fine, but whole spices have a fresher taste to them for sure. So that's not a bad thing. I have some cardamom. I always have cardamom in my house. It's one of my favorite flavors, and my partner really loves it too. And then finally, I have a bay leaf. And I think the bay leaf is really nice because it adds like a savory quality to the, same with the peppercorn, savory quality to the cider to kind of balance out all the other flavors. I'm gonna dump that into my mortar, and I'm not gonna pulverize this to a powder, but I wanna kind of smash everything, to kind of break it just a little bit. You don't want little pieces flying everywhere, but you want to break the outer shell so those oils have a chance to interact with the cider. So dump that in there. And then cinnamon. This is long cinnamon bark. Just gonna throw that in there. Take that. And then this bottle right here. If you're building a home bar, go and buy this. This is called Angostura Bitters. And Angostura Bitters is a very, very famous mixture. It's alcoholic, but high alcohol. And it's a bitters, which is essentially like an alcohol that's infused with lots of spices and bitter roots. And this is the ingredient that makes like an old-fashioned, a Manhattan. And this has a way of like seasoning the cocktail. It's kind of like your salt and pepper almost for a drink. If you're making any kind of classic cocktail, it's almost guaranteed to have Angostura in it. So a drop or two of that. And this has a very complex flavor. Get some cinnamon, some of that baking spice, nutmeg going on. Very bitter, very, very intensely sharp and bitter, but just enough, a drop or two will really like bring out the flavor of the cocktail. So at this point, I will let everybody, because we're running out of time here, I'm gonna go put this on the stove and let it warm up. But in the meantime, I'm gonna pour a little bit just so we can give it a taste. But then at that point, you'll have a nice hot cider for everybody. Sound like a plan? So I'm gonna measure out a little bit. And at first, I didn't think I loved all the spices floating around in it. Normally you don't like chunkies in your drink. But I ended up really enjoying it. Like they just kind of settle to the bottom of the glass and they're so aromatic. So if you do want to strain it out after you've let this sit on the stove till it's warm, let it steep at least 15 minutes, but longer is better. And if you're making it for a party, just let it go. And then they kind of all the spices settle to the bottom and it looks really cute. So I'm gonna go put this on and I will be right back and we can talk. So I put that on the stove at like medium heat, medium to medium high heat. And then I got a little bit here just so we can talk about it and give it a smell. Oh, and then the booze part, of course. So once you get your hot cider, yes. Now we have the non-alcoholic part set. Now the fun part, how could I forget? I think for this kind of thing, it's easier to add the booze in the cup than it is in the punch. it makes it that easy, much easier to like measure how much alcohol you're drinking per serving. If you end up spiking the punch, every time I've done that, it always ends up badly. So do as you please. But I think that the alcohol stays a little bit fresher flavor-wise if you do it this way. But if you do just one thing that my OCD, I want my hot beverages hot. So if you're gonna add a spirit, make sure your liquid is pretty warm. So in this cup, if this were full, I'm gonna split bases here. But the beauty of this kind of recipe is you can use any kind of spirit. If you have vodka, great. I think the darker spirits are gonna be the way to go, because they add a richness and a complexity. So we're talking bourbon, rye whiskey, scotch, brandy, spiced rum, aged rums, all those kinds of things. I think that's a great way with all the savory spices and the honey and the apple juice. I think like rum and brandy are probably my favorites. Today, we're gonna go with a mixture of bourbon, and this is the Clyde Mays. This is a really excellent bourbon style whiskey from Alabama. And just like we were saying before on the 2 ounces portion, I'm in a split basis. So I'm gonna go 1 ounce of bourbon. And this is spiced rum, like Gosling spiced rum or whatnot. And I'm gonna do 1 ounce of that. Let me go top this up with the cider. I can already tell it's bubbling a little bit.
And while Maxwell is doing that, we just want to let everyone know that we will be sending out the recipes in the wrap-up email. So if you've been jotting down notes, we will be able to send that to you as a recap, so you don't have to, if you forgot one thing or any of the substitutions, that will be all written out to you. So we will be sending that email.
And
Sounds good.
We'll also be including all of Maxwell's social media handles. So you're welcome to reach out to him directly if you come up with any questions, whether it's about the drinks that you've made tonight or anything else that you might have bar related. He is very well versed.
Thank
so
you.
Maxwell, I've got a question for you, because I know you put it on the stove and you just said a moment ago that, low and slow is really the way to go to get those spices to infuse with the cider. Do you want it to a simmer, or do you want to keep it below a simmer?
Simmer is fine, boil is not.
Okay.
Boiling, the reason why boiling is not great, and I actually put mine on a higher heat because I'm gonna drink this, in 10 minutes kind of thing to myself. If you're at a party especially, and I think that's always the best bet to make cider is for a larger group, at least 2 people, but 3 or 4. If you boil it, then what you're doing is you're evaporating all the water, and so it's gonna concentrate down to a really, at some point, like a really intensely spiced, really intense apple syrup almost, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you want to warm it, but like brewing tea, you want it hot, but you don't want to keep it on hot for a long time. Bring it up to temperature and then just let it chill low and slow, I think. And then this, like, mine's warm. It's not like hot. But mine's already pretty warm, and I can already tell just within the minute or 2, the spices are starting to like open up. I can definitely taste the peppercorn, which I love. Apple and pepper is a really great combination. And then the cinnamon. I think it's a mixture of the spiced rum and the bourbon with the cinnamon, which is a classic combination. I can even just smell it and then taste it. Even the citrus peel is starting to like even marinate a little bit. So like right now, not to sound too nerdy, but like right now, you can kind of taste all the flavors go like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of taste the bourbon, then you taste the lemon, then you taste the honey, then you taste, you know what I mean? When it melds together over a longer period of time, all the lines start blending a little bit and all the ingredients start working together to give you like a really beautiful homogeneous flavor, like one flavor that's deep and complex. So the longer you let it go, the more it'll kind of mingle. You know, like when you make leftover soup or whatever and you leave it in the fridge and then you take it out the next day and it's like a million times better. Somehow, you know, it's that same profile there. So even if you want to do this a day in advance, right, just make it cold, let it sit in the fridge, and then when you're ready to serve it, just heat it up. Know what I mean? Thank you. That was a great question, Michelle. Anybody else got some questions? Blake, how we doing on time?
It's about time to start wrapping up. So what I'd say, if you want to add anything else, Max, we can kind of go from here.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you have questions, feel free to ask those. If you have any questions that you come up with afterwards, we're going to give out my social media information. So feel free to directly send me photos of your drinks and questions and recommendations and tips and whatever it is, you know, reach out to me. Come see me at Glai Baan. That's a great way to go. And over there, we have all the fun alcohols and everything that you could ever want and more. And that's a really cool and special place. So definitely come see me there. And, you know, I want to, thank you, you know, to Cortney's Place for giving me this opportunity to, you know, share this with you guys. Thank you to Blake for reaching out to me. I'm super, super proud of you. And, you know, I just love seeing what you're doing with this. That's great. And then B, to these cocktails, like what I was saying earlier, you know, take what you want from it. Like if you have a base idea of what you're going for, then, you know, the sky is the limit. And the beautiful thing about cocktails is that it's, you know, it's a recipe. And so like you can kind of tinker with it just like your mother's soup recipe or your grandmother's cookies, you know, like you kind of mix and match till you get what you want. So hopefully this was a nice little base lesson. And then thank you. And then next time we do this, we'll step it up a notch. Sound good? Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you,
Very
Max.
appreciated.
And before we close it out for the evening, and I'll get to our bars and kitchens to drink our dinner tonight, I just wanted to announce, so tonight's drawing is we're going to try to have some sort of prize at each one of our classes, so somebody gets to walk away with a little something to say thank you for participating. So tonight's prize is actually a $25 gift card from Total Wine. So you'll get to keep the cocktail party going at home and maybe pick up that cool rum that you were mentioning earlier. So Maxwell, if you could pick a number between 1 and 22.
3.
Okay. Christy Fergus, congratulations. We'll all be over to drink whatever it is you buy. We'll be sending your gift card to you. We'll be in touch shortly. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And just so you know, our next class is going to be on October 28th. And this one is going to be sweet treats for Halloween. So it's going to be a baking class, and there will be something for everybody, and we will get the information out. We hope to see you again next month. Thank you all.